everybody. How do you all like that new introduction? Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Congratulations to the 47th President of the United States, Dr. Cornel West. I am Tracy, where we are joined by a returning guest. And I realize I don't have any of the websites up here, so I'm going to type them in really quickly. And I hope everybody had a good day because I had a fabulous day until my blood sugar decided it's going to act funny. But we're going to talk all things the Dr. Cornel West campaign. As usual, um, remember to like this page. I beg for this every single week, but I'm not going to stop. Please share this to your social media platforms. We've been kind of taking a little dip, and we have enough Dr. West supporters out there that everybody can at least dedicate themselves to sharing this on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I can't name anymore. If you got an email list, if you got friends that you email all the time, send it to them. Remember to like this page because the more people that know about this podcast, the better. I never asked for people to subscribe, so don't worry about doing that. I do that on my own podcast um, because that's just how I do. So, Timothy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just great, Tracy, and it's always wonderful to see you and speak with you.
Yep. So we've been over the list before. And if
Yeah.
anybody doesn't know how this show works, usually I take five of the dumbest things that I've ever heard about Dr. West, and we talk about it. We'll probably do them again because some of them are just hilarious. Um, and I have some new ones. Actually, I have new ones since you last joined us. So we actually have new ones besides the old ones. Um, and we discuss them and we just talk about why we think that Dr. West is the best presidential candidate out there and how we just don't understand why people just aren't capturing this message. We talk about how the Democratic Party stinks, how the Republican Party stinks, and why, again, Dr. West is the best choice. And remember to visit the website at Cornel West. Ooh, I said Cornell. That's not right. We're gonna put up the right website.
Should be Cornell West
West 2024.
2024.com.
Yes, thank you for the correction. I'm like, no, that's not right.
For
Uh,
those who are watching, you're always welcome to do cornellwest2024.com/
your state.
volunteer
Yep,
or
volunteer.
platform or donate.
That's exactly it. And now that I know I have the right website up here, and it's not coming up because now we gonna just make sure I'm not getting this in today. I'm getting this in today. I'm telling you. I'm telling you now. I'm gonna get it in 2024.com. Okay, come up. Well, it's not coming up today. I don't know what's going on, but it's Cornell West 2024.com. I will be plugging it um, all throughout the show. So, of course, for you all out there, you already know if you watch this show, like Nelson, whose comment I'll get to here in just a moment. Um, we know how this show works. Um, but I want to talk about, again, briefly, remind everyone why it is that you support Dr. West.
Well, absolutely. Um, and I think it's one of those things where I chose not to go back and look at the last time I was on because I figured I didn't want to know what I said. I'm sure I'll say something different. So today I was working on putting together some slides that hopefully are going to go out soon to tell people more about the campaign. And this is what particularly hits me is when you look at the campaign, you have the 12 pillars of justice. That's what's represented as his platform. I won't go into even how deep that is for those who look at the Abrahamic lineage religions, but it goes way back, and you're truly building a foundation on on the good cornerstone that you need to do. That's why I support Cornel West, because I don't see a foundation like that from anyone else running.
Yep. And here's an assignment I keep giving to my vote blue no matter who supposed friends, because I'm like, I can't really be friends with people who think genocide is a okay. I don't really know if I can call you a friend. You're just an acquaintance. And yes, I keep it petty because 35,000 lives to me is not a joke.
Yeah, I don't think it's 35,000. It seems to me like the media has stagnated around those numbers, and as far as I could
Right.
tell,
We're not even
they're never pulling the bodies out from all
yeah,
of the
we're not
rubble.
counting the people who are buried under the rubble.
These
We're
are
not.
just the ones that they've absolutely know, and they've continued to do the destruction as they move south, 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 continuing to tell people where to go until they're at a point where
Uh,
they're just bombing a refugee camp now.
yeah,
And I don't know that it's a refugee camp. Essentially, they started with a large concentration camp, which was Gaza, and they've now shrank it down to a small concentration camp and a whole bunch of rubble. And that's what we're looking at. It's unfathomable that you could support any of the folks that are running to support this kind of atrocity, which would include absolutely the blue no matter who crowd. So Joe Biden, genocide Joe, that's who you are. RFK Jr., we see you. As far as I've seen, it looks like your entire family is against you because they see what you're doing and they don't support what you're doing. Conspiracy theorists would suggest that the Zionist project is responsible for your uncle's assassination, possibly your father's. And then there's Donald Trump, who actually moved the capital to Jerusalem as if that would not incite more violence. And yet, that's something that he did intentionally. He tries to play things off like he's not into the violence, but he's absolutely supportive of the Zionist project, the occupied Palestine. That's who
absolutely.
they all three of them are.
And I challenge everyone here because apparently I can't make comments today because apparently they're just all not letting me do it. Boo hoo, StreamYard. But I'm going to challenge everybody out there. Go to Joe Biden's reelection website because I want to look to see, hey, what is it that you're, because I keep asking them this one question. Tell me anything that Joe Biden is going to do in his second term that he did not do in his first term. It, I mean, literally anything. I'll accept like literally, I will accept anything at this point. All I keep hearing is he's not Trump. He's not Trump. Project 25. He's not Trump. I got my own thoughts about Project 25, and I'm not going to get into it, but I'm tired of people being scared of Trump. It's getting on my, it's starting to like agitate me because you're not good. Trump has said, I want to be a dictator for a day. I get it that that's what he said. Don't get it twisted, everybody. I am not on a show called Congratulations to Cornel West or to the 47th President Cornel West advocating for Donald Trump at all. But don't you think we have steps in place to remove presidents? Like you're just gonna sit there and just not do anything. Like, okay, he said he's gonna be a dictator, so I guess that's the way it'll happen. And maybe I
Well,
should be more scared and I'm just hopeful, but I'm just like, I just can't imagine people sitting around and just letting this kind of thing happen. But hey, what
I,
I know.
I think we've gotten to the point now where it's very clear where the courts stand. They basically stand on anything that makes profit for the corporations, which means they're happy to support a Democrat or a Republican's position as long as it's still a corporate position. So our duopoly is just that. It's one party line. with multiple colors. There's no benefit to it. So the only way that we're going to address it, it seems, from what I've been seeing, there's a steady group of about 27% of American voters that seem absolutely hell-bent on voting for Donald Trump. Okay. There was about 27% the last time around that were hell-bent on voting for Joe Biden, and he got elected that way. But I don't think it's 27% anymore that's blue no matter who voting for Joe Biden. I think it's dwindling. And then there's the third-party voters, and more importantly, the couch sitters. All we have to do is go after the couch sitters, and if we pick off a few Republicans and a few Democrats here and there, we have more than enough. You're talking about a winner getting about 27% of the voters in this country. We're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 45% of voters aren't even voting.
I'm still wanting people to go to Joe Biden's website and have them tell me what he's going to do because I'm literally looking like, I don't see nothing. I literally see expand infrastructure, make more prescriptions, well, not free, low cost, free to those who are over 65. But I'm only 50. So that's not going. I love it. Here's my other thing. Stop giving Joe Biden credit for insulin. That was Trump that did that. That was not Biden. Trump did that in July of 2020. Biden stopped it, then brought it back in October, and y'all keep giving credit. It just annoying. I'm like, stop it. And if you look at Donald Trump's website, minus the grammar mistakes, you don't see anything. It's like you see nothing. It's these platitudes. And when you go to CornelWest2024.com, you are seeing the most comprehensive platform literally I have ever seen. And I mean literally.
It's fantastic. It's well thought out. It's well strategized. You can tell what's going to happen, when, where, and how it makes a difference immediately, both domestically and internationally. The entire world benefits from a presidential win by Cornel West.
But Trump. What? I asked this question. I gotta tell this story because now I'm blasting it out on the internet. Last week I was at an event tabling. Now I'm not gonna say where I was tabling because that would just be petty. But keep in mind, I can get petty if I need to, but I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm gonna be the bigger person. So he said, "Well, you're just giving the vote to Trump." And I said, "No, I said that to another person." But I said, "Well, how come me voting for Dr. West isn't a vote for Biden? Because technically speaking, my one vote, I'm not giving it to Trump. I'm giving it to Cornel West. So how come that isn't me giving the vote to Biden?" Man literally just walked away. I was like, "Thank you." I don't know how like the media has done such a good job of making people think if you vote for this person, well, you're taken away from this person. And you literally only have one vote. That's all you get is one.
It's the scary thing is literally the only way they're able to make that argument is by saying, look, I'm looking at you and I am not interested in what you have to say. I'm only interested in the demographics that I can visually see from you. And based upon this, my stereotype of your demographics, you're supposed to vote this way or that way.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Genocide Joe already told me I'm not black. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, I bring it up every week because I'm like, y'all let this slide? I can't be the only person that had a problem with this. But I mean, it's like, wait a minute. First of all, again, we only get one vote. Everybody that's of legal age that's able to vote gets one vote. It's like they're assuming that if Cornel West wasn't in the race, I would vote for Biden. No, I got at least 10 other people. Biden's is not on the list. I mean, I have literally other people. I was like, okay, I'll vote for this person. And none of them are duopoly candidates. None of them.
As long as there's an opportunity to write in something, I would do that before I would vote for Biden. No question. There's no way that Biden, I'm sorry, you cannot be,
Why are
you
you
can't perform
sorry? He
genocide.
started it.
You're true. You're right. I'm not sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. It's, I think it's in my nature of growing up that you feel like you should apologize for not doing what they expect you to do, but you're right. You shouldn't.
Nope. How am I going to
Absolutely
be
not.
okay? I'm like, how are you okay with a president that has gone around Congress not one time, not two times, but three times to get Israel more money and says he wants a ceasefire for, get this, 6 weeks? Well,
As far as I can tell, the only idea behind a 6-week limited ceasefire is it gives them time to reposition weapons, to bulldoze properties, just to see what's already been knocked down to their specifications and what they still want to demolish, and then resume killing. I mean, that's literally the only thing that they could possibly be thinking about.
I just
It's
wonder, yeah, it's like who, I wonder who they're gonna blame though in November when Joe Biden loses, because he's losing. Let me tell you right now, he's losing. There's no way he's winning. He has lower approval ratings than Jimmy Carter did
mhm,
when he was running for reelection. So you know Jimmy Carter, who's still alive by the way, has to be like, ooh, thank you. Because I mean, I'm just saying, I'm like, dude, you're at what? Like some polls have you at 43. You're like, we went up. We went up this month. Last month it was 36. Well, you're still not above 50. But who is it that I got some couple people that I know they're gonna blame, but instead of saying, there's an easy way for Biden to earn, well, I'm never gonna vote for it. It don't really matter what he do to me.
mhm,
He could literally sign Medicare for all, and I'd be like, nope, still not voting for you. I'm still not gonna vote for you. And I'm a strong Medicare for all advocate.
right.
Strong. Don't care. He could literally pass reparations for black Americans. I'm still not going to vote for him. He could do a combination of both. I'm just like, no, so that's not when these vote blue, no matter who people approach me. There's not there's nothing you can say to me that's gonna make me vote for Donald Trump, Genocide Joe, or RFK Jr. There's literally nothing you can say to me.
The funny thing is, I keep talking about the three of them as the duopoly candidates, and I think it makes sense to include RFK Jr. as one of the duopoly candidates. Because if
Absolutely.
you look at it, he initially came out saying that he was running in the Democratic Party. He comes from Democratic royalty, as it were, with the Kennedy name. Um, and from there, he's done nothing but move further to the right to the point where he was like, okay, I can't even pretend that I'm running for Democratic primary because there is no chance. And he's hooked up with a billionaire vice presidential candidate that's clearly bought the way onto the ticket. I mean, that's what they were chosen for. So if what you're suggesting is that the duopoly represents the moneyed interests, then by all means, they're still the duopoly. And what I find particularly interesting, you have Trump represents the red party, Biden represents the blue party. And if you put red and blue together, they make purple, which is the color of royalty, the Kennedy name as the American royal family. It's all the same side of things. It's not what we want. It's not what's good for the people. It's
I think Americans, and yes, I'm talking to Americans because we get people from all across the country literally watching.
mhm,
And by the way, I cannot post, anybody just join me, I cannot post in my comments section, which is why you're not seeing things come up. I don't know what's wrong with StreamYard today, but I cannot post anything. So if you post something in the comments, it's a hit or miss, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I think, back to my point, that people are scared to vote different. And it's because I look at my own self, it took me, even though, yes, I did vote for Ralph Nader, and I don't regret my vote for Ralph Nader. I turned around and voted for Obama not once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
Then I followed that up by voting for Hillary. And then finally, after Hillary was like, you know what, this is not making sense. And I just think once we realize until we vote different, we're not going to get anything different. That's what we have to make people realize. It's like you have to vote different to get different because nothing is going to change. We're going to still keep funding wars. The poor are going to get poorer. The rich are going to get richer.
I think the other thing we have to realize is that it doesn't matter how much the person is smiling in your face that says that they're voting for this candidate. If the candidate's horrible,
You're voting for a horrible
that you're
candidate.
for a horrible candidate. It doesn't matter that your neighbor is the nicest person in the world and they said, come vote for this person. Maybe they're nice to you. It doesn't actually mean that they're not the nicest outside of their relationship with you. Or maybe their whole facade is to be personally nice to people while they're taking money out of their back pockets. I mean, we clearly have politicians these days that are spending more money than they're bringing in. They're not bringing in money from the rich. They're only taking from the poor. They're rarely providing material support for the lower class right now. It's obvious when we see the rise in homelessness, and we see at the same time an abundance of empty properties that are people's investments that are not being filled because they just have multiple properties. This doesn't make sense. We're not addressing the needs of the people. Government only exists to serve the needs of the people. Otherwise, there's no need for government to exist.
Exactly. And that's what the message that I try to get out of people is like, why are you giving the election to Trump? I'm not giving my vote to Trump. I give my vote to Cornel West.
Mhm.
That's who I plan on voting for. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm not going to buy into the media narrative. And I think that comes up to my first point, which we haven't even gotten to. I mean, we've been talking about a vote for Dr. West as a vote for Trump. So many people, I have never seen so many people buy that. Yep, they'll literally say things to me like, yeah, Biden's terrible, but Trump is worse. Well, what's worse than killing 35,000 people?
I'd say it's about 100,000 now, but you
But
know,
I mean, I know what's worse, killing more. But I'm saying, we've seen, we can't predict the future. We don't know if Trump will come in. We can just assume, oh, yeah, he'll kill more people. But we don't have any facts. We have the things that we assume could happen. I'm not a fortune teller. Nobody out there is a fortune teller.
we've and I'm gonna paraphrase Brother West here. He talks about um, Joe Biden bringing us World War III versus Donald Trump bringing us Civil War II. I'm not even sure that's how it is right now because we're on the verge of World War III before we ever get to the election, and we're also on the verge of Civil War II before we ever get to the election. And it may have nothing to do, like, if either of those two win, it's a problem. I think the
Exactly.
only way that you can avoid Civil War and World War is by actually voting for somebody who wants peace.
And actual peace, not this, we want to have military bases all around the world, but we want peace. Peace. And that's what Dr. West is. And of course, you can always visit CornelWest2024.com to learn more about the platform because, again, StreamYard is being an idiot. So I can't post any of that stuff here. I probably should have did it before I got on, but that's okay. But what I get at another thing that really irritates me is how people, and this really happened when Clinton won. Let me say this first. Somebody tell Hillary Clinton to shut up. Shut up. Girl, sit down somewhere. You lost. You lost to Donald Trump. Think about this. You lost to Donald Trump. You want us to listen to you. You lost to Donald Trump. So this kind of thing where she's like, well, if it hadn't been for, of course, Jill Stein, she would have won. Even if you took the Jill Stein voters and the Gary Johnson voters and combined them, you still would have lost. Now, what Hillary isn't is stupid. She's a whole lot of things, but stupid is not one of them. She knows this.
I mean, it seems like she's only speaking to relatively wealthy forums at this point. It
Well,
just
she
so
keeps getting
happens
booed
that
when she teaches her classes.
well, that's the problem is that she keeps teaching classes and she's just dumb. Like if she was smart, she would just not teach a class in the fall. That would be a really good idea. Um, make sure you don't do anything in the summer. Or if you want to teach for whatever reason because you have garbage to teach people, then do it from online where there's no way for people to shout you down. But to the extent that we still have a First Amendment in this country, people are going to exercise it to make sure that they try to quiet your voice because you have nothing worthwhile to say. You are the only person who has ever lost to Donald Trump, ever. The only person that has lost in a presidential race to Donald Trump. So when everybody complains about Donald Trump and they want to say who's to blame, well, only one person ever lost to Hillary. So yeah, she would be the last person to ask in a race against
And
Donald Trump.
Hillary just keeps popping up on I'm like, stop it. Shut up. Oh my gosh. I wish I had done, I wasn't feeling well Tuesday, so I didn't do my 25 Democrats that make me sick show. But since this is about Dr. West, Dr. West is nowhere near what Hillary Clinton is, or Genocide Joe is, or oh no, here comes another bomb Obama. What you have in Dr. West, like you said, is a candidate that's for actual peace,
Hmm.
actual real peace, where America isn't dominating the military scene. What we spend on our military, you could take the countries that the three countries below us, and we spend twice as much as they do.
Let me throw another thing out here. When you take a look at most of the people who are running, most of them have been to law school. Most of the people who've been to law school, most of these elected officials have been to law school, recognize that this is their own private club, the bar associations, where they get and they talk in closed rooms away from voters about how they're going to fix the system for their own personal interests. This is not something that's done for the interests of the public. There are occasionally lawyers that do that, but for the most part, as you can see when you talk about who makes money and people always talk about lawyers, lawyers are the ones who are taking money home and you don't see them working up calluses on their hands. It's not what they're doing. They're taking money out of people's pockets. That's who's running. In this case, we're blessed with having people in academia. You have a theologian and philosopher who's spent his lifetime thinking about what has been taught in religion to try to teach us the way to live and what we've actually seen philosophically speaking what you can do to make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
That's the leader of our ticket, as opposed to somebody that you can trace all the way back to the 70s who didn't want their children to be around, wanted their children to continue in segregated schools, who has absolutely said positive things about KKK members.
But that was way back
who
then. That was 50 years ago, yet they go back to 50 years ago when Trump's father, not Trump, but Trump's father, and that was wouldn't rent apartments to black people. Yes, it was terrible. I'm not saying it's not, but I
I
love how
mean,
convenient
we
it is
we
to
can
go
go.
back on Biden. I mean,
We
go
don't
back
have
on
to go
Trump.
that. We
But
can go
you want to
back
go?
to the '90s for Trump, and we
Yep,
can talk about where he said that the Central Park Five,
five. Sure. Yes, that's what they should be
which have
talking
now
about.
been known as the Emancipated Five, were five children that were arrested and called super predators by Hillary Clinton and said that they should be put to death by Donald Trump.
Yeah, he took out a
And
whole
all
ad.
five of them were found innocent after they spent time in prison. One of them, I believe, is now an elected official in New York City.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you address this one. So my comments finally came up about time. So we're gonna address this next one because I was for West and now Stein because she has a greater chance.
I haven't the slightest idea why anybody would think that Stein has a better chance than Cornel West. It just doesn't. She's run before, she's lost before. I don't think she's done anything different. My understanding is generally, if you have failed and then you repeat everything you did that led up to that failure, you're more than likely to fail again.
But she's not Joe Biden. But I mean, there's a difference. You know, this show is about Cornel West, period. But
I'm not going to say anything particularly terrible about her. I mean, I think she generally has positive ideas. Um, she's also not she's a medical doctor as opposed to a academic doctor. Um, so she comes at things from, again, a more clinical approach as opposed to a more humanist approach.
and of course, this show, I decide have you answer that because to me, there's no better candidate than Dr. West. And the reason that there's no better candidate than Dr. West is because he does something that I've never seen. His policies, if you read them and you look similar to
Mhm.
me, which means you are a black American, he definitely starts from the what he calls the chocolate side of town. That's his focus, but he doesn't exclude everybody else, right? So he realizes that his policies, in terms of what he believes, in terms of his platform, how many times did the word black appear in his platform? Several. And I had made up my mind after, Bernie sell out Sanders. I mean, let me stop. After Bernie got screwed over the second time, I'm like, I'm not going back. The next
Right.
candidate that I vote for had better be black focused because I think that black voters have been widely used by the Democratic Party and we're not getting anything out of it. But that's just my little opinion. I'm going to get some more of these comments here because there's a bunch of them. Biden promises were not done, and the ones that were so watered down or so feckless, insufficient, and optical that he really did nothing. I agree with that.
Absolutely. That's why
Nelson,
it's hard for you to understand any idea why somebody would say, let's reelect him if he hasn't even done what he promised the first time.
hello, Nelson. Nelson answered Brian's question by saying, at Brian Grisby, even Jill Stein knows that Dr. Cornel West is the best person for the job of president. Then she is. He's on the move. Absolutely on the move. Hi, Parker. Hey, what's up? One question I would have is if they are blaming leftist type people for Biden losing the election, wouldn't the scenario mean that Trump wins? No. And here's how I'm gonna let you answer first and then I'm gonna come back.
Wouldn't the scenario be that Trump would suddenly win if Biden loses? I don't think that has to be at all. See, if you look at history, when you get to um, when you get to big points in history where there's going to be actual radical change, that's where you see an opportunity for a third party to actually make its way through. So we saw that happen when the Republican Party was formed and won the presidential race in 1860 with a guy from Illinois uh, by the name of Abraham Lincoln. He ran on the strength of the abolitionists who had been in Illinois for 25 years, going back to when Elijah Parrish Lovejoy first moved his printing press from Missouri back over to the Illinois side of the river and continued to protect his printing press and put out abolitionist newspapers because that's what Illinois was all about. That's what the Republican Party was all about. The idea that the Republican Party exists and does the opposite now, that just means that the people who are running it or the people who are voting for it are just foolish. I'm sorry. It's history. If you don't believe in the abolitionist movement, which frankly is what's leading the philosophy behind Doctors West and Dr. Abdallah, um, then I don't know why you would. I, I don't know what you support, except you seem to support death because that's what's being provided by the Democratic Party, that's the Republican Party, and that's the Royal RFK Jr. in between.
Here's what I would say: if Joe Biden wants my vote, and again, there's no circumstance that I would ever vote for him, do better. It's real simple for me. Do I mean anything, literally anything. But for me, that threshold, the situation in Gaza, I, I don't, like I said, he could literally pass Medicare for all, reparations, forgive all student debts, free college, and I'm still not going to vote for him because I have 35,000, at least 35,000 dead people that should not have been dead because you decided to go around Congress. That's what you did. I didn't do that. Cornel West didn't do that. Jill Stein didn't do that. Claudia De La Cruz didn't do that. That's your doing. So when I tell my vote blue no matter who friends, I'm like, it's not Dr. West's fault that Biden is in the situation that he's in. He put himself in this position by the stupid decisions that APAC made him make because they're giving him so much money.
Well,
That
and let's
has
keep in
nothing to
mind,
do with me.
it's not just that he was going around Congress. Congress would have been more than willing to shovel as
Oh
much
no, that's
money.
why they never complained. They were like, okay, we don't have any problem with this. We're glad you did it.
They took this last round, they took a matter of, I mean, they talked about it in advance, but as far as getting the actual paperwork together, they spent about 8 hours of literal discussion on the floor before they said, let's ship a few $billion overseas to
I'm
Israel.
surprised it took 8 hours.
Israel, a country that we're supplying with free healthcare and free education. The same thing that Americans are claiming is somehow terrible. Well, not all Americans. The Americans who are complaining about free healthcare and free education and saying that's for a bunch of freeloaders, you're supplying it right now for the Zionist project over in occupied Palestine. You are supplying them with free education and free healthcare more than Americans are getting. Americans here are suffering, suffering, suffering. I see it all the time. I'm seeing the interest rates are at record high levels, and they're talking about how do we deal with this inflation problem. Well, there's nothing that the interest rates being high is going to help with because that's not the issue. The issue is that the rich are taking obscene profits. They raise the profits, and Walmart is my best example. Walmart raised their great value brand, which is their house brand, by something like 10%, and they suddenly saw a vast increase in their quarterly profit. Why? Because the reason that people go to Walmart is that it's a cheap place to shop, and the cheapest thing there is the house brand. So you raised it simply for more profits at a time where there's an economic downturn for the average working person
And
and
here,
all of your shoppers.
and remember, add this: The employees didn't see any of that 10% increase go to their paychecks.
Nope.
I guarantee it. I guarantee they saw no raises. Oh, Nelson, I love you. Let me just tell you, Nelson, I love you. The only reason why Biden is president is because Bernie sellout Sanders directed the young voters to vote for Biden. He did. Now there is no excuse. We need Cornel West. Absolutely. Hello, nice to see you. Got a guest tonight. Yes, I'm gonna make a plea tonight. Y'all ain't gonna like me too much after this, but let's go to the
Whoever's
next
saying
one.
nice to see you, you got a guest. Remember, you're on next week.
No, she was on last week.
Oh, never mind.
Cornel West has a better. Oh, this is Faye. Hello, Faye. Cornel West has a better chance than Jill Stein because he decided to go independent to stay out of the Green Party for a reason. We're not gonna go on that reason.
Well, I'll give you part of the
We're
reason.
gonna Faye. We're
Let's
gonna skip
let
your next comment. I'm not
let's
gonna get
just
to
go
your
with
next comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Never
let's
mind.
just go with the platform. He could see that the platform of the Green Party was not going to be expansive enough to address his core issues that he wanted to address in a presidential campaign. He's looking to address issues that face the Black community. And why wouldn't he? You would expect him to. If he's running under the Green Party and somehow that is being not addressed, that's clearly a problem. And the fact that Dr. Jill Stein and the Green Party recognize that it's a much more robust platform that Dr. West is running with shows just how cynical they are, that they're only worried about keeping their ballot line and they are not caring about Americans. If they cared about Americans the way they claim, they would absolutely be looking for opportunities to make sure that Cornel West is on the ballot in all 50 states, which we're still expecting to happen.
But it's not. And here's what I want to say because again, Faye, I'm not gonna put up your next comment about the Green Party. I will not. I will not. Um, but you know what you said. But here's what I want to say though. It's not really about him because even he said this is a moment in a movement.
Mhm,
It's not. I don't want to still sell out. Yes, Bernie, I'm calling you a sellout. You sell out Sanders to me from now on. Period.
mhm.
Um, but it's not really about him being president. It's about us working on the ground. Because trust and believe when Cornel West wins, oh, if you think I'm going to just let up, like, oh, I'm just, that's it. I want, no. Oh, no, it don't work like that. Because see, what I do is I hold the people I elect accountable. I'm going to make you do something because I voted for you. And if you
Well,
want to act like a fool, not a fool, I'm going to vote you out.
if we get the situation, when we get the situation that uh, Doctors West and Abdullah are being inaugurated come January, we absolutely have to stay on them to make sure not just that they're doing what needs to be done, but rather that the rest of the people in the public understand why this was such a wonderful decision and how lucky we are to have averted the violence that we would otherwise expect to see under any of the duopoly three. Still working on the nickname for the
Yep.
three then.
But your comments are coming in on tonight. I really appreciate this because I'm like, more comments gets me higher in the algorithm, whatever it's called. So Faye says a lot of prices went up because wait a minute, that's not the comment. I'll get to that one here in a second. But I want to go to this one because this is the point right here. I'm sick of hearing how nothing is bipartisan until it's time to make war. Then all of a sudden, war making is bipartisan. Wow. Faye, you are now my play sister. Because that is exactly, this is what I say to people all the time. I'm like, they only pretend to be enemies on TV. They
Mm-hmm.
are not enemies. They are working hand in hand. They are holding hands, singing kumbaya. No, they don't have enough sense to sing kumbaya. They're singing when evil works together, whatever song evil people sing. I don't know what they sing, but they're working hand in hand to screw us over. Every time a war comes, I'm still asking this. Show me a Democrat, because I know Republicans are always going to fund to increase the military. That's what Republicans do. But you show me any Democrat in the past 5 years that has voted against decreasing the military spending. Not taking a president vote, because that's just cowardly. You got to
Mm-mm.
stand on what you stand on. I don't know that person. I don't think that
But
person exists.
I don't see anybody voting it down on either side. And
No, it always, they gave the Pentagon more money than they asked for. The Pentagon was like, well, we need this much. No, 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 no. Take this much.
every time
But you
it's
got
an
veterans
unwritten
living on
rule
the
that
street.
whatever they ask for, they get plus X% on top. Even though they continue to fail all of these audits, they fail audit after audit after audit. They're just cash is just disappearing. And yet they continue to feed them more and more money. It's obvious that our military system is just a money laundering scheme for corrupt politicians and government officials. That's
And
all it is.
and what irritates me is we have hungry children in this country. And it's really making me angry because I ran into a person today while petitioning. It was like, well, that's impossible to prevent poverty. The crap it is not. It's very possible to, cause see, I don't cuss, so I gotta say something close, like get close but not go over.
Hmm.
It's absolutely possible. It's absolutely positive. Now I believe in monetary theory myself, cause like where you get all this money from wars that you're not borrowing that much from China, but that's what I believe. But in theory, if you want to go with, hey, let's cut the military budget and give it to the children that are starving and people are literally living in their cars
Yes.
outside to go to work. They're
Yeah.
working, but they can't afford. You gonna tell me we can't afford it? But we can afford 800 military bases worldwide.
There, I remember the stories that were being covered, and I got to give props to a particular media outlet named Status Coup, COUP, and Jordan Sheridan. Back when he was covering the Amazon warehouse strikes and union formation in Staten Island, among the stories that he was covering, he was talking about a large number of Amazon workers who were living in their cars in the parking lot
In the parking
of
lot.
the workplace because they had no other place where they were allowed to park the car and they had no place else to go, and they were spending all of their money on food and paying the insurance to keep that car and the tags. They had to pay all those things, otherwise they'd literally lose their home too.
Well,
And
they
there
didn't
was
have a home. That's why they were sleeping there.
right, yeah.
Because the crap job at Amazon wasn't paying them enough to afford a place. And this is why we tell people, this is um go to cornelwest2024.com, because this is where you can really learn about the campaign. We're kind of glossing over it because this is another reason why I started this show. I didn't start this show to get Dr. West to appear on it. Although if you're listening, love to have you on the show. But I want to talk to supporters because I think it's good for people to hear other people that support Dr. West. Right? I could get on here all day and talk hours and hours about why I support Dr. West, but I can't reach everybody. I am literally
Absolutely.
just one person.
It's one of those things where even when I'm reaching out to colleagues of mine from years ago, so many of them have been turned off by what they've seen done by politicians or the lack thereof. Whereas there's always promises and there's never delivery for whatever they say.
Just
I've seen friends of mine literally essentially been paid off with foundation grants to say, okay, just don't run for anything, and here's some money.
And that's just like, you know what? Whew. I see. I could go off on that because let me. I'm gonna just move on to the next one. I'm gonna just move on to the next one. Move on to these comments, which keep them coming, y'all. Keep the comments coming. A lot of prices went up. It's because of all this war making and putting sanctions on whoever we don't like, making war with China, which China isn't even trying to make war with us, but we keep wanting to go evil China, evil China. Ooh, let's be scared. And with China so that the supply chain doesn't work. Correct.
And we can see this is obviously a coordinated effort because you can go back to when Trump first came into office and he initiated a trade war with China,
For no
which
reason.
in effect meant that there were tariffs that were being paid on, and the tariffs are taxes. That's really what it is, because the Chinese goods come in at a nickel on the dollar, let's say. So the American consumer's paying $1, Chinese good is coming in at 5 cents when it hits this country. But so that the American companies can compete, the US government says you want to buy the Chinese one, you're going to pay 95 cents to the government in what we call a tariff. So that the Chinese good is now $1 and the American made good is also $1.
Or the American good is $2. So they figure, oh,
Right,
gotta
that
save
too.
money. Kevin, hello, Tracy, and guess we definitely cannot have another warmonger in that house again for 4 years. It will not turn out well. Dr. West knows what is needed to get us out of this mess we are in. Amen to that. And final comment, which I hope it isn't the last. Money doesn't work right now. If we had enough money being created in our country, then we wouldn't need to borrow all that money into existence to buy things that are necessary for our basic living. Exactly. I know people who are living off of their credit cards
Hmm.
and they just get more and more and more and more and more. Um, I was fortunate to buy a house in these crazy um, times where interest rates are extremely high.
The interest rates are crazy right now
Interest
to the
rates
point
are
where,
terrible.
but the thing is, and when they talk about this, it locks up the entire housing market. So people are desperate to
Exactly.
sell their houses and they can't sell them because nobody can afford to buy them because of the interest rates. Mind you, the only thing that interest exists is to make money for a third party who has nothing to do with that house. This is literally just taking cream off the top for somebody else. This is bankers. This is what this is literally why um, people who are generally devout Muslims, they're not allowed to take out loans. It's something that within Islam, and I'm not sure if this is true of all of Islam, but Islam, as far as what I knew, they weren't allowed to take out loans. So they came up with other alternatives for ways to save money or put money aside through cooperative investments, that kind of thing, as opposed to having to deal with these loans and interest rates. These are being pushed by people who are just trying to take money out of the economy to put in their personal pockets. It's not being done
Exactly.
by workers.
And this is why Cornel West, if you go to CornelWest2024.com and you read his platform, Dr. West calls for something. And yeah, I'm going to smash on the Green Party, but oh well, I'm out anyway. Um, I haven't heard any third party candidate talk about it. I haven't heard Kennedy talk about it, Genocide Joe talk about it, Dumb Donald talk about it, because I don't know what to call him, so I'm just Dumb Donald, whatever. The elimination of using credit scores to get a home and employment.
There you go.
Absolutely important. Now, some of us were already tied to that system because we wanted to get out of the neighborhood we were living in. But for future home, um, that's important because if you're working, let's just say you work for Amazon or Walmart or wherever it is you work, You should be able to afford a single family home. And I'm saying single family because all these apartments going up, the rent is so sky high, it doesn't even make sense.
I mean, it's intentional. Every time somebody's credit score is lower, it allows banks to take a larger profit from them. They're still borrowing the money. The banks are still taking the money. It's not about risk, because if they were concerned about the risk, they wouldn't be charging them so much extra money. The reason that people have difficulty is because you're charging them these high interest rates where you're choking people with the high interest rates, credit cards and payday loans and whatever kind of litigation um, interest rates that people are paying on top of it. It's just, it's the intention is always to put the average person back into a feeling of indentured servitude.
Yep, if we keep you broke, and that's why I hate the situation that's happening in some larger in sanctuary cities, because you have black people who feel like you're giving all this money to immigrants, and I'm like,
Mhm.
you got to realize that that's intentional. It's to put a divide where there doesn't need to be a divide. Don't hate those immigrants. First of all, they came to this country because we screwed their country over and made it so bad they couldn't live there. So you don't hate those people. You work with those people and say, hey, we need to work together to overthrow this system. And that's what I want to see happen. Is us to the duopoly must die. It has to. And
Must fall.
Cornel West gives us the best chance of that. Period.
100%.
Period. 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 But let me get to some of these other ones because I want to get to us laughing again because we got real serious there for a bit. Cornel West should get out of the race because he's only polling at 2%. Not only should he get out of the race, he should endorse RFK Jr. because he's doing much better in the polls. I told you these got dumber as you came back because first time I didn't say that one. I've been hearing this one.
I mean, he's his policies have nothing to do with RFK Jr.'s. RFK Jr. is not a moderate. You might say he's somewhere between Biden and Trump, but if you're looking at a full political spectrum, they're all on the right. Cornel West is if you need to get to the left at all, he's among those. He's the one that's the unifying candidate. He's the one that people can bring solidarity around because he's the one looking to uplift the floor for all of us as a society. You have to help those at the bottom for all of us to win.
Exactly. Again, my guests are always so much more classier than I am because here's what I'll say. If you looked at polls, you would think that Hillary Clinton should have been president by now. It's only May.
Mhm.
It literally is May the 11th. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Forgot to say that at the beginning, but happy Mother's Day to all the moms. It's a 2% poll. He's, you know, I don't pay. I'm not one to pay attention to polls because again, if you do, Hillary Clinton should be president right now, and not should have been president and not Donald Trump. Again, girl, you lost to Donald Trump. You lost to Donald Trump. Nobody even expect. He didn't even think he was gonna win, and you lost to him. But anyway, I mean, I don't pay attention to polls too much because that tends to get me a little discouraged. Um, because I think that Doctor West's platform can do more than he can, if that's making sense. If you just
Well,
explain the platform,
here's the other thing. When it comes to polls, they're always lagging data. It's always behind because whenever the poll was conducted and then it had to be considered before they put it out, you're at least a week to 2 to 3 weeks behind. You're never up to date on what's the most current. I'm not sure because of the news sources that I get, but the news sources that I get seem to be the news sources that generations Y and Z, or millennials and Z, are looking at. Gen X seems to be mixed on what the news sources are, whether they're online or cable news, etc. And then you get, the boomers and older that are just watching cable news. Well, generally the people who are being polled tend to be the boomers and older. They're going to be the least likely to move, and they're going to be the least responsive to what's actually happening on a day-to-day basis. I can tell you that
Right.
young people that I know ain't none of them thinking about either Biden or Trump, and that's why RFK's gotten the bump that he's gotten, because people don't realize that he's just somewhere between Biden and Trump, and if Biden and Trump are both a problem, then halfway between doesn't make it any better. You've got evil versus evil, and halfway this evil and halfway that evil. No, it's all evil, 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 evil.
Well,
It's
no,
just
you
not
got the
opposite.
lesser of two evils. You know what? I'm glad you said that because this argument literally makes me the sickest. People, for some reason, y'all out here assuming you got to vote for the lesser of two evils. You still have evil left. If you take one evil away, you still have evil left. Make it make sense because it doesn't make sense to me. You have the opportunity to to have somebody work for you, for actual you, that will have your best interest, that is not bought off by corporate dollars, that will work for you. Stop being scared. Stop being scared of the if Trump gets in, and vote for Cornel West. And I want to make a special. It didn't um, fit all the
I-
way in because it's too long.
My
But I
problem here with the Democrats that are saying they're so scared of what happens if Trump wins,
they're ignoring the evil that Biden is doing.
I would like you to come visit me here in Florida now, because we're currently living under Governor DeSantis here now. I don't know what Trump could possibly do in Florida that DeSantis hasn't already done.
Or tried.
And Biden's the one who's in power. And Biden hasn't done anything to protect Floridians from DeSantis. So there's nothing that scares me about Trump because I'm already living under Trump, the same thing on a state level.
Anybody that lives in a red state, Indiana, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, I'm gonna say Georgia because it's not gonna be blue next
For the
time.
most part, this is what it's like living under Trump now. We already
Yeah,
know
it's
what
like
it's
we
like,
already living under them.
right? And
Yep.
down here, the question is, well, what happens if Biden wins? Well, if Biden wins, then probably the little bit of money that maybe trickles here and there is gone, that the red states are already seeing, because the
If
little bit that's coming from the politicians occasionally here and there
exactly.
for their friends, they're no longer there to give it out.
If Biden wins, this is only going to put fuel under his fire. This is only going to be more destruction, more killings, more bombings. He's already said there's no red line. I don't know what he has to tell people for people to wake up and say, "Hey, this guy isn't for you." When you put the needs of another country before the one that you're supposed to be president over, you should have a real problem with that. Now, I'm not saying don't do humanitarian aid. I'm always going to be for humanitarian aid. Always, always, always. Because you don't deny people food, you don't deny them medicine, you don't deny them water, you don't deny them places to live.
Right, but this law that they just passed, which I don't know if Biden signed it yet, or if it's going to be over the weekend, but it appears that we've now made it illegal to say anything bad about a foreign country.
But we can say whatever we want about this one.
That's taking away our First Amendment rights. And what I like to say, and I think it's absolutely true, If we do not have a First Amendment in this country, I guarantee we do not have a second.
Or third,
So,
or
so
fourth,
whatever you
or
thought, I focus on the second because of where I live.
you
I
understand.
guarantee the people around here who are all focused on the Second Amendment won't even see it coming when they lose their Second Amendment because their First Amendment was taken away first.
Do this. This is another thing I invite people to do. Take a sheet of paper, divide in half, put Trump on one in one column and Biden in the other, and compare them. They're literally the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about every policy that people complain about Trump, Biden is doing. I literally got in an argument with somebody when I said children are still in cages. Oh no, that's not true. Yes, it's true. I wish I were lying about that. Do you think I would love to have children in cages? You think I enjoy saying that? I'm like, no, children are still in cages. I don't know how many million times I'm gonna have to say this, but people are just like, um, is people just don't want to believe. They just want to, and I think we have to do a better job. And I can say this without any hesitation: we have to do a better job of communicating the message. But then we have to learn. Hey, it's some people they just gonna vote for Genocide Joe and Dumb Donald and RFK and not think I do about it. And it's their vote; they get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're making a huge mistake because I think Dr. West is the best candidate. But sometimes you just gotta be like, you know what? I can't win. I can't. What did Harriet Tubman say? More slaves would be free if. Oh, I forget that quote she said, but basically she was saying I could have freed more people if they wanted to be free.
Ooh,
I
if
it's
they would have
something
come
like
with
that.
me.
Yeah. Harriet Tubman said something around that vein,
Huh.
and it applies, I think, to politics too. We keep voting the same way. But for some dumb reason in our head, it's like, oh, we're going to get something different. So Biden didn't work, so now we'll vote for Trump. Trump didn't work, so we'll vote Democrat next time. Don't vote for either one. Vote for Dr. Cornel West. That is your
Absolutely.
best option. That is the only hope that you have. And then send people to Congress to support his agenda. Don't just send him. Send some people to support him. Because again, the duopoly must die. Let me get to some of these comments before I let you talk again. So, because I'm just taking over the dang on show. I literally could have did this by myself.
You got so many comments today. That's awesome.
I know. I'm just like, ooh. Okay, that's awesome. The credit report is ridiculous. Absolutely. We don't need it. No, we don't. Other countries don't use it. But hey, other countries also have health care. We don't. But Cuba is communist and they have it. Oh my. This is this is a movement of fearless people. We are going right after the real power behind everything. Absolutely. And we're not scared. That's another thing I want to tell people. I am not scared of Donald Trump. Look at my face when I say it. Do I look like I'm scared of some orange faced man? Do I look like I'm scared? I am not. Want to make an announcement here. Indiana needs your help. Yes, I put the whole form there. We have a special Zoom meeting. I won't go into much details, but if you are a Cornel West supporter, I'm kind of keep that up for a little bit so you can take down that address because we need y'all for a special thing that we've got going, and we're gonna have the training on May 19th at 5 o'clock. That is a Sunday. Please, please, please fill out that Google Docs form so we can have enough people to do what we're trying to do.
And if you're watching, feel free to do a screenshot so you get the address.
Yep, I'll put it up there again. Kevin's got another comment. Tracy, the only thing that really makes sense would be, yeah, see, Kevin, you my cousin. They might play sister, but you might play brother slash cousin. The only thing that really makes sense would be to vote for Dr. West in November, and that's a big period. Thank you, point blank, period. That is the only thing that makes sense. Um, because I think we just have no other choice. We have no other choice. None. Um, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in Florida. I know Florida has a much easier path to get on the ballot than Indiana.
So in Florida, what we're doing is we're actually creating a new party. And our party is not just going to be in Florida. It's actually the plan is for the party that we're creating here in Florida to be rolled out across the country. It's just not required this voting cycle for it to be across the country. So there are several states that are going to have Justice for All Party, which should include California, Washington, South Carolina, and Florida. Um, the Justice for All Party will be holding, in many cases, and here in Florida, a statewide convention. And then I believe we're going to have a national convention, which with the states that do have the Justice for All Party, and maybe the whole country will be able to participate in terms of Cornel West supporters. And we'll be looking to nominate Doctors West and Abdullah. From there, our big issue is really all about get out the vote. So right now we're in the process of trying to get greater name recognition as much as possible. And for that, we're certainly using social media. And we recognize that our work is going beyond the state because we're not just reaching Floridians with our social media work, we're reaching out well beyond our borders. And we know that we're getting social media coming in from other parts of the country too, and that's one of the things that's great about this campaign is that as opposed to being focused just on a state by state basis as many state campaigns often are, we're very much focused on the national campaign and just figuring out what it is that we need to do in each particular state to make it happen. And that's why what we're doing here in Florida is what we need to do here in Florida, but we recognize that what you're doing there in Indiana is different, and it is also just as important.
Absolutely. And there was a little commercial I wanted to play, but dang on it, I don't know what happened. It see, no, we got our comments, we got our oh, there it is. So I'm gonna play this little commercial. No, I'm gonna play the commercial at the end. So I want everybody out there that's got a pen and a piece of paper to take my email address down because we're really trying to get people at that training that's May the 19th at 5 p.m. Again, I'm not going to go on about what the special project is, but if you're a Cornel West supporter and you live anywhere near the state of Indiana, that includes Ohio, Illinois, Kentucky, Michigan, West
Wisconsin,
Virginia, Wisconsin, heck, if you
Iowa,
Iowa, if you want to fly in that day,
and Missouri.
and Missouri, thank you very much. I would almost count Georgia because that's an 8 hour drive. But that might be a bit much. But if you live anywhere near those states and you want me to email you the form, my email address is Hoosiers, HOO, S as in Sam, I as in Indiana, E as in Edward, R as in Roger, S as in Sam, the number 4, Dr. Cornel West at Outlook.com, or Tracy, Tracy, M as in Michael, CARSON 74 at gmail.com. Either one of those emails, they'll get directly to me. I will make sure that you get what you need. But I got one more doozy of a question for you because this one was so dumb. I'm like, y'all got to be you. I thought you was an intelligent person before you threw this one at me. Dr. West, well, there's two. Anderson Cooper and my least favorite, James Carfield, um, said that Dr. West is a disgrace to democracy for running for president.
Yeah, I mean, that makes obvious sense, right? Because if you have a democracy and you have multiple candidates, you're promoting democracy. So how dare he run and promote democracy? That's just
I mean, next thing you know, he gonna be thinking he's a free black man. I mean, we not slaves. I mean, Biden has, is, and always will. Thank you, Nelson. I'm gonna get this on a T-shirt. Biden has been, is, and always will be a liar. The
yep.
$2,000 tax checks. Oh, it's not. I'm like, I'm still waiting on my 600. Well, actually, you owe me more than that, but I'm just saying, um, a lot of people don't know that they have a choice yet. We have to let everyone know about Cornel West. Absolutely. And Kevin says, if they only knew they were slaves. Yeah, that's what Harriet Tubman
Hmm.
said. That's what she said. I was like, oh, okay, that was something. So I want to play a little video because now the StreamYard done taught me this. Oh, I'm gonna use this every video, every time. Now, see, you don't want me learning something new. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Nope, I'm not gonna create it. Well, now I can't find it. Nope, I'm gonna get it.
It was awfully nice of StreamYard to provide such an
No, it's been there the whole
opportunity.
time. I just now learned about it. Oh, there it is, right there. So we're gonna watch this little 30-second video.
We need all the tired, poor, huddled masses of America who have had enough of the two-headed snake that has been our parties and our current and former president. Please sign up at cornelwest2024.com volunteer or scan the QR code to join the movement for a new choice. Join us on Mondays at 7:15 p.m. EST by scanning the QR code. Paid for by Hoosiers for Dr. Cornel West for president.
That is Indiana's little commercial that we've been airing everywhere.
That's fantastic.
And yes, I'm gonna play it every week from now on. Thank you and very much.
You said that's Indiana specific?
That is Indiana. The second QR code is Indiana specific because it
Okay.
gives people to join our meetings.
Right.
First code is cornelwest.com/volunteer. That's to the national campaign.
Right.
So yes, um, but I want to thank her. But this again has been just a great conversation. I'm so glad you could come on when you did. Um,
It's always my pleasure. I'm quite disappointed in those that I reached out to that they did not get in contact with you, but I hope they will in the future.
yeah, I hope they do too. And that's another thing I want to say. I try to make this easy for everybody. I
Sure
know
do.
I'm not the best looking thing, blah 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 blah. But I'll tell you what. Um, this podcast is very unique, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Um, I try to do my best, so sometimes I don't, but my guests have been nothing more than fantastic. And of course, you can email me again at either tracymcarson74 at gmail.com or Hoosiers, the number 4, Dr. Cornel West at outlook.com if you want to be a guest, or get the link to our May 19th meeting. It's going to be a big, 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 big deal. I want to thank everybody for joining. And Timothy, if you could stick around for 5 minutes, because I got a story to tell you. But
Absolutely.
remember, everybody, it's almost to the point of begging now. Share this video. Share it. Share
Hmm.
it. I mean, there's this thing called Facebook. If you copy and paste and then put it on your page, you just did it.
It's
Um,
real simple to do, and you can put a little header above that asks people who take a look at it if they'd like to be a guest so that they know that they
absolutely.
can get in contact with Tracy right away so that she can line them up from now through until inauguration day is what? That should be the first
Janu-
weekend in January?
It's the last week. It's around the 25th, 26th, somewhere around there.
Oh, that's right, that's right. It was the 20th the last time. Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're talking about 3 weeks into January. I'm guessing that, once Doctors West and Abdullah have been elected on November 5th, they're going to be pretty wrapped up in getting things together.
And the
So,
lawsuits, because you know they petty. You know they petty. You think they're going to
of
just, well,
course.
we lost. Mm-mm. No, it's going to be some court cases, but you better get your money ready. You better get your money ready. And y'all know y'all doing this because you scared. And I say this every week. I hope you're scared. I want you to be scared. I want you to be so scared every time you see a black male with some gray in his hair, you think it's Dr. West. That's how scared I want you to be. I want you to be so scared that you think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? That's how scared I want you to be. And you know who specifically I'm talking to, because I'm not talking to Dr. West supporters when I say this. We're tired. We're tired of living below our means. There is stuff that is ours, should be ours, is being kept from us, and we're tired of it. That's why we're supporting Cornel West and Dr. Abdullah. Go to Cornel West 2024. Donate. Please donate.
Please do.
It's a great thing. Last two comments. I love it. That's fantastic. Thank you, Tracy. You rock. Thank you, Nelson. And then Faye says, I enjoy meeting more Brother West supporters on your stream. Thank you, Faye. I appreciate that. Share the link. And you wanted to say something, Timothy.
I just wanted to say, if you cannot share your money, that's understandable. Can you please share your time? We have opportunities for you to volunteer,
And
and you
every
can
state.
certainly work on the social media by sending things out as well. Talk about them all the time. Talk about them until you're red in the face or blue in the face or purple in the face, and then keep talking about it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you 10 million times. We will see you here next week when I will have a huge announcement. If I can pull this off, it's going to be a great one. And no, it's not Dr. West coming on this show. That is not the announcement I have. But you'll have to tune in next week to see what it is. I'm going to need everybody's help to pull it off. If you're a Cornel West supporter, I want to thank you all. Have a great day. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video, share it to your social media platforms, and have a fantastic evening, everybody. Bye bye.